Well, with the no confidence motion in Tasmanian Premier Jeremy Rockliff passing 18 to 17, there's a lot of uncertainty, of course. We'll bring in Six News election reporter Maggie Perry because we want to go through some of the numbers that relate to, the future state election, the one that was had only a year ago in 2024. Maggie, let's start off with last year's state election. No party got a majority there. That was expected. It's Hare Clark, 35 seats, so it was expanded as well, which is always fun for us. How did those numbers end up falling? Because as we've seen over the past 16 months, it's been not the steadiest government for Jeremy Rockliff.
Yeah, well, he only managed to win last election with 37% of the primary vote. There's no two-party preferred in Tasmania because it's all proportional. That was a swing away of 12%, but only about 1% went to Labor, and they finished with 10 seats for Greens, 5, Lambie Network, 3, the Liberals at 14, and Independents at 3, which meant the Liberals fell well short of a majority last election, which they needed 18 for, and they needed the support of 4 crossbenchers, which they've been able to get up until now when this no confidence motion passed.
So if we look at the actual upcoming state election, there's only limited polling available, of course. It's state elections in Tasmania. We don't tend to get a huge amount, unfortunately. But what was interesting is that only in the past kind of few days, the most recent poll, which was from EMRS, had Labor ahead. Now, again, we're not talking about a two-party preferred thing. That's not a thing here. But if we look at those numbers, they were up. Mind you, I believe they're only leading on 31%, but that was still a lead over the Liberals.
Yeah, that had the Liberals at 29%, so down, I think, about 7%. Labor at 31, so up to, of course, leading the Greens at 14, which is about the same. Landing Network about the same at 6%, and Other at 17%, which was quite a bit up. A bit of a problem there. Lambie herself has said that she won't endorse candidates for any future state elections. So that vote has to go somewhere, and those 3 seats that were won last time have to go somewhere. Maybe it's independents, maybe it's for Greens, maybe it's Labor. What we do know, though, with this poll is that Liberals are in huge trouble. If they can't manage to form government with 37% of the vote, they won't be able to form anything close to a government with 29% at the same time. Labor at just 31 is pretty low, and they'll definitely need a lot of support from crossbenchers. I think a majority government is out of the picture.
A party that I think might potentially be able to gain some of that Lambie vote, I say some of it, the Tasmanian Nationals. Now, I don't believe they're registered, but they have, or are they? I don't believe they are, but
They
they
are.
have declared their intention to run. They announced that in a press conference. They've said that they are pro the Tassie AFL team. They're against the Macquarie Point Stadium. Look, the Tasmanian Nationals are a real oddity of a political party. The first Nationals leader was from Tasmania, but this is a party that has just never really, you know, done anything. It's barely existed. It's come and gone. It's come and gone. Their most recent federal representative was a senator who defected from the Lambie Network, mind you. Um, could they potentially sweep up some of that vote from the Lambie Network, but also maybe from disaffected Liberal voters?
Yeah, well, they performed very well actually in 2019 in Lions, which is the big central Tasmanian scene. They got 16% in 2019, continued to, well, not contest after that point, but that does signal if they can just get half of that, they could very well pick up a seat in Lions. Maybe they're looking at a seat in Braddon or Bass as well. Obviously, this is very speculative, um, especially with there's a Jackie Lambie Network MP in Lions. They're not contesting anymore at the next state election, so that MP has to go somewhere. Probably not going to go to the Liberals. We can say that. Um, so that does signal that the Nationals maybe have a bit of a shot in Lions. Maybe if they perform very well, they can get another seat in Braddon or Bass, which are the North Coast seats. But really, they'll definitely be interesting, but I wouldn't say they've got a huge chance. But we don't know, so it's possible that they do quite well.
again, notwithstanding the fact this, yeah,
Ending
Clark, they're not
this
going to get a majority of the Labor Party, but there was the recently released Roy Morgan federal poll that needs to be stressed. But the two-party preferred in Tasmania was along the lines of 70-30 in Labor's favour. We had just seen at the federal election, the Liberals lost their Tasmanian lower house seats. So there's four MPs in Tasmania federally for Labor. One is an independent. So there's actually no lower house Liberals at the federal level. Again, they're not going to get 70% of the vote in the state election, but could this just again kind of boost the idea that Labor is going to be able to increase its vote at this state election on the back of federal success? And it is rare that these elections would be that close together. Of course, this one being unplanned.
Uh, well, the problem is that this Roy Morgan poll that you are referencing, I think their sample size for Tasmania would have been about 200, which is very low, very unscientific. Nevertheless, we do know Labor did perform very well at the federal election in Tasmania. Their biggest swing in the entire country was in Braddon, where they got a 15% swing. Um, Labor won this state by 13.5%. So almost two-thirds of the two-party preferred. So there definitely is appetite for Labor. Definitely not appetite for the Liberals. I don't think they'll be making any gains. Just have to see where the Liberals can hold on. Um, Maybe if those federal election successes are repeated, I don't know. I think a lot of that factor might have been Peter Dutton. I think Tasmania is viewed as a very moderate liberal state. I mean, Bridget Archer, one of the most famous moderate liberals of last term, was, of course, a Tasmanian MP. We'll just have to see how the federal election carries over into the state election. And there'll definitely be a lot of dissatisfaction with voting in general, voter apathy. We had the federal election on the 3rd of May. 24th of May, there was like upper house elections in Tasmania. And now we're heading for maybe another state election in June or July. I think a lot of voters will be very frustrated and we'll have to see how turnout affects this election.